Hi, and welcome to the Unwritten Book Summit. In this virtual event, I'm interviewing experts from the book publishing industry, as well as some self-published authors, to talk about their experiences writing, publishing, and promoting nonfiction, especially business books. The interviews are pre-recorded and will be uploaded to my YouTube channel. So whether you're currently writing a business book or it's part of your 3-year or 5-year plan, you'll always have access to these videos. And I'm doing this summit as a promotion for my own book launch. Unwritten, The Thought Leader's Guide to Not Overthinking Your Business Book officially launches on October 1st. You can pre-order it now through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, or directly from the publisher, Amplify Publishing Group. Now let's get to today's guest. Joelle Hann is a book coach and writer, helping authors write their books and proposals, discover their ideas, and harness their creative process. Her clients have been published with Big Five and independent presses, such as Penguin Group, Simon & Schuster, Harper Wave, Workman, Wiley, Sounds True, Shambhala Publications, North Atlantic Books, and more. Joelle's signature offer is Book Proposal Academy, a live, hands-on coaching program to help writers craft a top-tier book proposal, structure their book, write chapters, and prepare to be an author. This program teaches you how to pitch a book that agents and editors are excited to buy. Joelle, it's great to chat with you. Thanks
It's
for being
great to be
here.
here. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Awesome. Yes, I have a million questions. I will restrain
Right.
myself. Mainly, I want to hear all about how you guide authors to write book proposals and get, their books noticed, because I think writing a book proposal can feel like such a challenge for a lot of authors. I've personally tried to write a couple of book proposals for clients and found it really difficult. Now I just refer them to Book Proposal Academy.
Much appreciated.
Yes. So I want the scoop on proposals, and I want to hear about your process as a book coach as well.
Yeah,
But
awesome. Great question. So
yeah,
much we
yeah.
can dive into here.
Yes,
So
yes.
I
Go ahead.
I know your listeners are both traditionally published or want to be, or self-publishing or want to be.
Yeah.
So I want to just talk about first, let's talk about, like, do you need a book proposal no matter which avenue you're going down? Which form of publishing are you going to take?
Yeah.
And my thinking about this is that while a book proposal is for traditional publishers, that's how it has been used. Of course, this has been around a much longer than self-publishing. It is still an excellent idea to do a proposal, even if you're not going to work with a publisher, or even if you're going to work with a hybrid publisher that offers a lot of support through the process. Although that process can be a mixed bag, as I hear from people,
Mhm.
because what a proposal does for you that's not obvious when you're writing a book is it helps you to put your book into a wider context.
Mhm.
And why is that important? Because you could say, well, my creative process is my creative process. My insights are my insights. My method that I spent years coming up with is mine. I'm offering this to the world. But books, whatever form they're in, self-published, traditional, hybrid, whatever, they are going to eventually exist in a world of other books and other media too. So podcasts, YouTube
Mhm.
channels, streaming services, any other content. Unfortunately, books are sometimes now called long form content, which is like
Yeah.
totally hard. Oh my God, don't say that. Um,
Right. Even the word content, I'm like, ugh,
Even
every
the
time
word
I use it, I'm
content,
like, ugh.
I know, I'm with you, so
Yeah.
with you on that.
Yeah.
But it's just like this, like just like we're saying, like the way that publishing and books and media have evolved,
Mhm.
it's actually important to know about that when you're putting your book
Yeah.
into the world. Just,
Yeah.
even if it's just to have more context. So, for
Right.
example, let's use a metaphor here.
Mhm.
If you have a kid who's applying to college, you're going to apply to a few different colleges. Maybe you'll go on tours to many more colleges because you're
Mhm.
trying to get the wider context for what's out there so you can make a decision.
Mhm.
It's something like that. Meanwhile, you're working on your grades, you're working on your extracurricular activities, you're doing all that stuff, but you also eventually need to see your wider audience or your wider context. So a
Yeah.
proposal really asks you to articulate that wider context for yourself.
Mm.
And it has the same elements in H proposal no matter what kind of book you're writing.
Mhm.
Nonfiction, I will say, no matter what
Yeah.
kind of nonfiction book you're writing,
Mhm.
which because it's a formula in that you always have these sections in it,
Yeah.
or this information is always covered, you have to ask yourself these questions.
Mhm.
And they can be tough questions. Like they can
Mhm.
be confronting questions.
Yeah.
That's what I think is uncomfortable about writing book proposals, is that they ask people to do something they don't feel that confident about doing, or answer a question they don't feel that confident about answering. And then they're like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You know,
Yes.
ick, ick,
Right.
ick.
Right.
People
Right.
have different places where there's an ick, but
Yeah.
everyone has something.
That's right.
And so sometimes people will just say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pursue a publishing method that doesn't require that.
Mhm.
But I have talked to those people after they published. And for the most part, they regretted not having a proposal, because what they realized after they'd been through this process without a proposal is that they didn't know how the book worked. They didn't know where it belonged in the general context of books and media. They
Mhm.
didn't know how to talk about it so that
Mhm.
people would pay attention. And
Yeah.
they sometimes struggle to even explain it to themselves, which is a really tricky one, because you think, oh, it's my book, so I know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you have to explain it to other people that are not your friends or family who love you, it
Yeah.
gets difficult. So a proposal
Yeah.
helps with all of this. And
Mhm.
I have seen people go through this process and it really turns the key for them in becoming authors.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you're so right that when you're writing a book, it's from your perspective. It's internal to you. It's your brain coming through. And you see this, I see this all the time in a lot of my clients. They will start their books with, here's why I'm writing this book. I'm writing, and it's all I'm always pushing them and always saying, okay, but this is for the reader. Why should the reader read the book? Right? Changing that perspective. It can be very hard when you're in the middle of expressing what's happening in your head, but you have to at some point make that switch to, okay, what does my audience need to hear? Why am I writing this for them? And that audience focus piece, if you never write a book proposal or you never think about who your audience is, that piece is totally lost. And then as soon as people start asking you, why should I read this book? You might not have an answer. And the marketing is all about why other people should read the book, not why you wrote it,
Right.
not why it exists.
Right, right. And
Right.
ultimately, even if you're a Nobel Prize winning scientist and you clearly have discovered something that has contributed to human culture,
Mhm.
you still have to figure out why someone else would want to read your book about it.
That's right.
Like everybody has to answer this question.
You have to translate it for the audience. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Really, really interesting point. Yeah, I love that. Um, What are some signs that an author will be successful at getting a book deal, if there are any, and or that traditional publishing is a good path for them to take? What?
That's a great
Yeah.
question. I will just start with a little bit of an aside. With lately,
Okay.
I've been hearing from people who say, "Well, I know people don't get book deals anymore."
Mm,
And I know that that idea is out there,
mhm.
but I have 6 client books coming out in the next 8 months.
Wow. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. So while it is a tough market, like it's not a shoe in, like a lot of us think about publishing a book and it'll just happen, and it's not like that anymore.
Mhm.
Book deals still happen.
Mhm.
Book deals still happen.
Yeah.
So traditionally publishing, sorry, now I've forgotten your question. Um,
How do you know if it's a good path for you, or how do you
yeah,
know
okay,
that?
okay.
What are the signs? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So a, a sign, a good sign for you to traditionally publish is if you need support, which basically we all do need support
Yeah.
in all the areas, in the writing and editing, in conceiving of the cover, in marketing ideas, in getting your book into distributed into all the places,
Yep.
including big box stores.
Yeah.
in understanding how a book gets put together and going through the process of that, adhering to a schedule. If you need help, then traditional publishing could be the way for you. Um, I would say that unless you're an experienced author, you do need help in all these areas, and even experienced authors need help in all these areas. Um, Writing can be a very lonely task, and then all the mechanics of putting a book out can be a lot of work, like a big lift. If
Yeah.
you don't already run a business or are an entrepreneur in
Mm,
some kind of way or like that kind of stuff,
mhm,
you're going to feel quite overwhelmed
mm.
by all that you have to learn and do
That's right.
just to self-publish a book.
Mhm.
Now,
You have to be a project manager,
you have to be a
essentially.
project
Yeah.
manager. You have to be a project manager.
Mhm,
Exactly. That's
mhm,
exactly right.
mhm.
If you have a really huge platform and your followers are super excited about everything that you do, then that's a good indication that you could self-publish and be really successful at it.
Mhm.
It's not enough to think about how much more money you could possibly make as a self-published author, because there's so many more factors that go into whether you will or will not make money
Yeah.
than just I keep the proceeds or I give a lot of it to the publisher and I get a percentage. It's so much, there's
Oh
so
yeah.
many more moving parts than that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I talked to one of the authors for this series, in fact, and she's got this beautiful speaking, strategy and everything. And the book makes so much sense with her business and all she's doing. And she's being very, very successful. And then I try to translate what she's done to what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, I'm different in all of these ways. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find my own, like this thing that worked for
Yes.
her. I'm gonna have to figure that out for myself. But yeah, it got me really thinking about,
Yeah.
all the ways that you can sell a book and all the ways that it can work for
Yes.
you. But yeah, yeah.
Yes. And I will say that even with traditional publishing, you're going to have to do more work and be more involved than you think you will.
Yes, another good point. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not like you're just handing your book over and they're
No,
gonna manage the project for you. You're
no, those
you're
days are
still the
gone.
project manager, for the
Yes.
most part. You're still doing a lot of the heavy lifting. They may give you a
Yes.
little more guidance and a little more support.
That's right.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you think we already actually covered this question? Do you think every author should write a book proposal regardless of how they choose to publish?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I mean, whether people will, if it's not a gate
Yeah.
to entry,
Right.
it's another question, because obviously that's an investment of time
Yeah.
and effort
Yeah.
and all of that, and maybe people won't do it. But in an ideal world, yes, I think
Yeah.
everyone
And
everyone should.
we didn't quite talk about the parts to a book proposal.
Oh
Let's talk a little
yeah.
bit about what it looks like.
Yeah. So a book proposal is a marketing plan for your book, as well as, well, it's not a marketing plan. Let me back up.
Okay.
It's a business plan for your book, as well as a sampling, a very uh, authoritative sampling of what your book will be like. So I'm
Mhm.
really talking about nonfiction here, not
Yeah.
fiction. Fiction
Right.
is a whole different ballgame, just to make it clear for people. For
Mhm.
nonfiction, you want to show, or what the sections are that are asked for is like, tell me about your book. Give me a high level summary of what your book is.
Mhm.
Tell me about your audience. Who's your market? Who's going to be really excited to buy this book? Who are you as an author of
Mhm.
this book? Who are you? Um, what are your comparative titles? Like what titles are out there right now that are similar to yours in some way that we can sort of triangulate, not there's going to be more than three, but triangulate off of to
Right.
understand where your book belongs.
Mhm.
What kind of platform do you have? Who do you reach right now? Who's in your audience? Who is already eager to buy what you have? And sometimes people don't realize they have a platform, but in Book Proposal Academy, we really dig into like
Mm.
what really is your platform. Doesn't mean you're a TikTok star. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you are, that's fine, but you don't
Yeah.
have to be. There are
Right.
other ways that you can really present yourself as someone who is connected
Right.
or has an audience or a
Right.
platform.
Yeah.
Um, then you will give an annotated table of contents. So that's chapter summaries, what's in each chapter. Give me a flavor for your writing. Give me a flavor for what you're telling us and how it goes. How is
Mhm.
it structured? And then some sample chapters. So we can really see your writing in action.
Mhm.
The thing about a proposal, there are many things about it that are brain twisters, but trying to write the book before you've written the book,
Yes.
that's a brain twister right there.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to ask, when is a good time to start writing your book proposal, given that you need some sample chapters? Like it seems to me that one way to do it, I'm sure people do it this way, is to write the book first and then write the
Yeah.
proposal. But it
It
also seems like they're very connected and very give and take. And, if you discover something in the process of writing your book proposal, that could change
yes.
the outline of the book and the way you're writing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a process,
Mhm,
it's a
mhm.
process.
Yeah.
Some people, and it depends on the person. Some people
Okay.
really need to write a lot and get a lot down
Mhm,
before they have a sense of what the book is. And that's totally fine.
mhm.
That's fine. You just have to know that in that process, a lot of things are going to end up on the cutting room floor. And that's
Right.
also fine. That's not wrong.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no expectation that the first draft is going to be your last draft. It's
Right.
just how you get going.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good
And
point. Yeah.
so there's that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is people who want to plan every single move that they're going to make, and they don't want to write anything until they got everything planned out.
Mhm,
And then there's of course like in between.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, but I have someone right now in Book Proposal Academy who's written a memoir, and the memoir is done. She's written the draft, and she's in the Proposal Academy and realizing she needs to restructure her book, and that
Ah.
means rejiggering the chapters.
Mhm.
So just because you've written the whole manuscript does not mean that you're not going to significantly change it when you are asking yourself those questions that you
Yeah.
have to ask when you're working on a proposal.
Yeah. Which speaks to your point, right? A proposal because it makes your book better, right?
Yes.
It will, right? She may not have gone through the process in the same way if she hadn't stepped back and thought, okay, what is this for the reader? Or, answer those questions, right?
Exactly, exactly,
It's almost
exactly.
like
And
you're your own editor, your own developmental editor in some ways.
yeah, you're definitely developing that skill for yourself
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
as you
interesting.
learn to zoom in and zoom out.
Yeah, that's an important skill. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Well, thanks so much, Joelle. I really enjoyed this conversation. You
Me
shared such
too.
juicy, practical information. I can't wait to share this with my audience. So I talk about different types of publishing in my book. So if you're trying to decide between self-publishing, traditional route, you want to check out that piece, part 3 in my book. And of course, if you're looking for help writing that proposal or looking for an amazing book coach, reach out to Joelle. Her website is brooklynbookdoctor.com, which I love that name. And that's where you can find out about Book Proposal Academy and apply. The next cohort starts October 15th. And applications are accepted until October 4th. So the timing is just right on for that. So if you're looking for,
Do it now.
yes, do it now, make it happen. If you're looking for that kind of program, it's there and it's available. And Joelle is great. So as you can see from this interview. So yeah, awesome.
Thanks so much, Emily. So fun to talk to you.
Yeah, amazing.